Hmm? Ladies and gentlemen, and variations thereof, welcome to the Selectives Lorecast, a casual Elder Scrolls podcast. I have to go down there now to turn things on. That's what that nonsense is about. I only have one standing desk. I don't have two. Today we're talking about Mehrunes Dagon, which I mean nobody knows anything about whatsoever. So I'm. Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. We study the crap out of this guy. It's like Mehrunes Dagon and Molag Bal. We just rant constantly about those two. They have very compelling spheres. Anyway, my name is Rotten Deadite, and with me today are.
I am James, also known as Aramithius.
I am Felix, also known as Banu Hanamasaishi.
I'm Andrew, also known as the White Guar.
And this is Jonathan, also known as Sothis.
Who is really quiet, by the way, Jonathan. Can you, like, crank your stuff?
Maybe? Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Crank it up to 11, homie.
You gotta speak up, do ya?
I'll just move my mic way closer to my face. Is that better?
Not really.
Cool.
Unless you're deep throating the mic, it's not close enough.
Yeah.
What
Just
an
shove that shit over
excellent
your tongue.
start to the Mehrunes Dagon episode, right?
Yeah.
That's just...
The casual Elder Scrolls podcast and not professional. If we started doing this professionally, then it would just be, oh, it's so embarrassing, we have to start over. Nah.
Yeah, but actually, let's talk about starting over and leaping and new worlds, and I think that's our transition.
Whoa.
So let's talk about Mehrunes Dagon. This is my really brief, noob pitch. Is Mehrunes Dagon is commonly referred to as the Daedric Prince of Destruction. He's the big devil-looking guy with 4 arms, and he's all red. And if you played Skyrim, he's the guy that you get that little dagger from that occasionally kills things, but never when it's supposed to, and you just kind of stuffed it in your house and left it there, or maybe put it on the wall, but ignored it largely, and it was kind of plain looking anyway, so screw it. Little did you know that you just managed to get a Daedric artifact that's so unbelievably powerful it can turn a Bosmer into an Altmer. So let's see. I've mentioned this before, but when we get like Daedric princes or Adric gods that have themes that I really like, I'm always going to bring up. I'm always going to mention that I like it, and Mehrunes Dagon has a really good, if enormously broad, sphere of just flat destruction. It's very sort of Shiva, I think, esque of being. Is it Shiva I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Shiva, the Lord of Destruction.
yeah, and that's fine. But from the studying that I've done of Shiva, it's pretty rapidly apparent that Shiva is one of those gods that just gets their nose into like everybody's business because of how broad that sphere is. And you can divide Shiva up into a million little tiny gods and still have a lot to work with, which they do. Yes.
That's a little complicated, but we'll continue later.
Yeah. I'm not too off topic yet. Shiva also has 4 arms. Yes, that's absolutely right. And when we talk about Mehrunes Dagon, I should also mention for the people who are not into the super dank lore, Mehrunes Dagon was of course the big bad evil guy in Oblivion. And if you are into the dank lore, he was also the big bad evil guy in
Battlespire.
Battlespire, thank you.
Yes.
Which not many people played, was just a shame because it's real good. And that's kind of, Mehrunes Dagon isn't really in Oblivion much, except for the end.
Yeah, he can't destroy things forever in Oblivion.
Yeah, well, but also the big like major driving force of Oblivion is not fighting Mehrunes Dagon; it's preventing Mehrunes Dagon from showing up at all.
No.
So it kind of makes sense that you don't. I mean, it would have been nice if he was a little more, prominent. But instead, we got some other really forgettable character. What was his name? Mankar Camoran, who's fantastic and just full of dank lore, and we're definitely going to be bringing him up. Despite the fact that it feels like we've done like 3 casts on his ass already.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing though. Are we actually dealing with Dagon as Dagon with that though, or are we just dealing with Cameron's interpretation of
Right.
and smashing together? Because I would never have associated him with Magna Ge until we get to Oblivion.
¿Por qué no las dos?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we should probably try to stay away from Mankar Cameron because we've talked about him quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, we're going to bring him up anyway, so don't fight it, but let's try and rein it back when we start to head it, because Mankar Cameron's given us a lot of interesting ideas. Not the least of which is that Mehrunes Dagon has a tie to Lig, everybody's favorite alternate universe Tamriel. Felix, you wanted to bring that up, I think?
No, because I'm not the Lig expert, which is why it's
neither
a
am I.
shame that Chris and Evan aren't here.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up something about Shiva and the aspect of the Lord of Destruction in the Hindu/Dharmic idea of what Shiva represents. The way the universe is divided is that you have a creator god, you have a maintainer god, and you have a destruction god. So the creator, I believe, is Brahma or Brahman. I can't remember, but I think it's Brahma. The maintainer, I believe, is Vishnu and his various avatars, and the destroyer is Shiva, from whom all the waters of the world flow forth. And the idea is that in order for the world or something to begin anew, it has to be destroyed. So it's not about, we want the world to end. It's just, this is a natural part of the cosmic cycle. It just happens. It's part of the order of things. And that's part of why various different associations of Shiva have different depictions or emphasis. So there are some who emphasize his destructive aspect, hence the it's almost like a ring of fire that surrounds him on some of his bronze statues. There are other aspects that take on the waters of the waters of Brahma and the unity of the cosmos and the knowledge therein. There's that association. There's the association with time, because time ultimately destroys all things, hence why Shiva is one of the most powerful gods. And so there's all these different sort of aspects or facets to this one god and all he encompasses that people or sects within Hinduism may choose to adhere to or place emphasis on, which is why you have, and this will obviously resonate with a lot of Elder Scrolls nerds, is the linga, which is basically a metaphorical penis that you drip and pour water and milk onto, and it's meant to represent Shiva's dick, basically, to be very crude about it. So 50 Shades of Muwatra, whatever you want to call it. So there's all these different ways of honoring Shiva and the various aspects of Doom, which brings us back to Mehrunes Dagon and his Razor and all the different things you can do with that. Because I think also on the UESP page, it talks about Mehrunes Dagon and his Nimic. So yeah, his proto-Nimic is Lekeloga, and his neo-Nimic is Jelekeleho Debe Efehezepe.
Complex.
Yeah. But again, it's like, okay, so we're talking about the same god, but he has all these different names, all these different titles. He's the Leaper Demon King. He's originally from Lig. He's, the Daedric Prince of Destruction. He's all these different things. So there's definitely some Shiva-esque parallels, but he's definitely stylized in a more Western way for sure. But we should probably talk about his Nimic and the Razor and why he would have such a need for putting that artifact out there into the world.
Yeah,
2
and
seconds. Can you guys hear me now?
Oh yeah, that's much better.
Cool. I have lots to say, but I'll let you guys go.
No, we're done.
No,
go
on.
Okay. You mentioned wanting to bring up the Lig thing. So he when you start throwing in all of the different myths, like especially Khajiit, he's not from Lig, but he was sent there. And the Khajiit even say he was tortured by Baal, and then Meridia freed him. So, I mean, I don't know, where should I start? Like the beginning here? So,
Yeah, start at the beginning, and then when you get to the end, stop.
As we all know, so he probably starts off as the Leaper Demon King, where he, actually, I'm going to start this off by saying Dagon is the good guy.
Dagon or Mehrunes?
All of the above, but I guess more specifically Mehrunes. I will get more specific with that.
Yeah.
So he starts off as the Leaper Demon King. His whole goal there is to stop the cycle of death. He wants immortality for everyone. He's kind of in a way aligns with Altmer ideology, which I think helps show why we have not one but two instances of Altmer using him to try to achieve the Dawn again, both Cameron and in ESO. So, you know, he gets cursed by Alduin and turned into Dagon destruction in order, and he has to go destroy all of the pieces that he saved from previous Kalpas. At some point in time, we don't really know when, but judging by I can never remember the name of the book. Hold on. Adversarial Spirits, where it talks about the different Khajiit gods. It sounds like it was probably sometime in one of the dawns. He gets thrown into the Great Darkness, which I think there's an argument to say that that's also Lig, or at least Lig is sort of like a part of it. So he gets thrown down there by Anner, and tortured by Baal. I'm gonna go into some more crazy stuff. I also think that Vivek talked about this. There are a lot of similarities between Hanote and Cityface with Dagon and Mehrunes Dagon. I wrote a whole thing about this. So in the commentaries, he's taken by the Ge and put into Lig. In Sermon 26, Hanote is taken by the Grabbers into the adjacent place. If you assume the adjacent place is Lig, it all lines up. But you would have to make that assumption first. So, I'm looking at my notes here. I have a whole thing about this. So Hanote is made with Tower Hope into Cityface. The Ge give hope to Dagon. And Hanote is pretty much Cityface is a destructive force in the adjacent place. That's the general gist of it. I mean, I could read the whole thing, but it's kind of long.
Lig is only adjacent at its creation. Maybe? I wonder, well, I mean, like, I kind of try, whenever I think about Lig, I kind of try to think about its symbolic kind of creation and the way that it came about with the, you know, the old map of Tamriel that, you know, that was created but not utilized.
It's a form of recreation, is the thing, because well, Mehrunes and Lig have an interesting relationship because they both destroy and change each other because Mehrunes throws down Lig, but Mehrunes is created by the Magna Ge in Lig, which if we're taking Leaper Demon King as a thing, then he was the Leaper Demon King before and now is transformed into Mehrunes by the Ge in Lig. If we can assume that, that does almost put Lig as something that's that is in between Kalpas. In order for that framework to make sense. I've also seen a fantastic piece on Reddit that's saying that Dagon created the moons, or if you want to see Lig, look up. It's drawing off the idea of things like Dagon threw Lig down on its face and cracked its face, and the idea that Lorkhan is cracked asunder. And his divine spark fell, and that sort of thing. It's playing mostly on those sorts of language, sort of language.
Right. I was just saying, and just to put a cap on that, Meridnunda used Dagon to fight the Lattice and to destroy the Lattice.
Ooh.
Really need to brush up on my Khajiit lore.
So is Lig key to the Lattice then? Just going totally off on a tangent here.
I personally think that Lig is the realm of Lorkaj beneath the world.
Oh, he's the third moon, the darkness behind the moons.
He's the That's my personal belief.
Okay, I can see that.
But by the way, Chris, you mentioned about old map of Tamriel that wasn't used. I was going through some stuff of mine a while ago, and I found this old map of Morrowind that I made, like, it must have been early high school.
Ooh.
And this was before I even saw a map of Tamriel. Ooh. And I haven't scanned this and uploaded it to the website, so everyone here gets a sneak peek.
Oh boy. Your camera ate most of it, but yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Is that? Oh, I see. Yeah. No. There's Vardenfell in the middle.
Yep.
And then okay.
There's Vardenfell.
Yeah.
Well, middle, upper left, I guess. Yeah. All right.
So yeah, that's a thing that we'll hopefully be sharing at some point in the future.
Isn't there something in Alduga about the creation of Mehrunes Dagon from Leaper King? Yeah.
Yes.
It sounds that way. That does seem to be the indication. Yeah.
Well, it's specifically Dagon, not Mehrunes Dagon. Mehrunes Dagon is fashioned in the bowels of Lig with the Razor.
Well, are Mehrunes and Dagon distinct entities?
That's just what I was about to ask. Yeah.
According to Cameron, I want to say they were.
Yeah.
And a Dragon Ball Z fusion thing.
Yeah.
But not anymore. That's kind of what I gather from commentaries.
Again, on the subject of the Razor, though, we probably should talk about that. And like as Chris mentioned at the start of the stream, it's one of the most powerful artifacts. So we've already mentioned it in passing like 2 or 3 times, so we should probably touch on that.
If we're taking the commentaries at their word, then I know it's a terrible idea, Chris. You can stop pulling that face.
Careful with that.
Your fact.
Yeah. Then the Razor is a creation of the Magna Ge, and therefore comes from Aetherius. So if you're going with the Razor, if you're going with the Razor as originating there, then it can manipulate the very stuff of creation because it comes from outside of creation. Is my thought that it's not a Daedric artifact in the conventional sense. It would have to come entirely from from somewhere else, because it's been associated with Mehrunes and maybe identified with Mehrunes, but if the Ge are related to it at all, it's drawing from another source altogether.
Right, but I think it's considered a Daedric artifact, not because Mehrunes created it, but because it was used to cut him into Mehrunes Dagon. Right? If I have my lore knowledge correct.
I don't think we have that concrete. The phrasing in the commentaries is that the Ge created Mehrunes the Razor in the Bowels of Lig. So it's not precisely Dagon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it could be something that the Magna Ge used as an aspect of Dagon to create Mehrunes Dagon.
Mm-hmm.
As like, I mean, the problem is that what we're talking about are not. I mean, they're not physical entities, are they? They're concepts. They're gods. They're energies. You know. And so when you talk about the creation of a physical item like the Mehrunes dagger, I mean, separating it from Dagon may not be possible or necessary. I mean, it might. It's a little. Well, I'll put it to you this way. I think I mentioned this a little while ago in chat to somebody. The Razor is a lot like the Razor's relationship to Dagon could consider to be a lot like the relationship of Muatra to Vivek. It's effectively inseparable because it's effectively the same thing, but it's not the same thing. It's like saying, you know, I mean, check off your, you know, if you've got Jung on your bingo card, here it comes. It's a little bit like separating. It's a little bit like talking about like the differences between the id and the ego and the self. Mm-hmm. The self theoretically encompasses the id and the ego, but it's not. That's not to say that the id and the ego can be separated from each other, or for that matter, from the self. It's
three parts form the whole, right? Past, present, and future are all aspects of time.
Well, three parts form the whole in the same respect that the three members of Om Sivi form Om Sivi. They're all the same thing, but they're also separate from each other. I mean, like Jung will talk about the separation of the ego from the self, so that you can then begin to examine the self, like remotely, Zen Buddhism style, you know. But the fact is, the ego never leaves the self. It's not, you know, it's not a part.
Hang on, because the ego, at least if you know, on the other side of the planet, you have the Dharmic faiths of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism that say that in order to achieve enlightenment, you must kill your ego to rejoin the collective spiritual whole.
Right.
So ego death is required for enlightenment in the Eastern faiths.
Yeah. Yeah, but one of the ways that Jung phrased ego death using a little bit less, you know, violent language was to talk about ego separation from the self. It's not really killing off the ego. It's just withdrawing it's not withdrawing. It's separating the ego. It's extracting the ego from the self.
Is that the word? Dissociation?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Except it's not disassociation because you're not. It's like it's like a magical thing that you do. Where you bake a cake, right?
Imagination.
You bake a cake and then you do a thing that pulls all the eggs out. Right?
Okay.
You needed the egg to make the cake. But after the cake has been made, theoretically the egg has been distributed throughout the cake, but then you're doing some kind of a crazy thing where you're pulling the egg out of the cake. It still was used to create the cake, it's still part of the cake, but now it's separate from it.
Sounds like a terrible cake.
I know, it's awful. Oh, it's going to be all crumbly and terrible.
Yeah.
Won't hold
Does
together
that
at all.
mean Mehrunes Dagon crumbles without the presence of the razor? And
Yeah,
that's why
probably.
You
I
can't,
think he's yeah. What's a cake without egg? Is that is like
Yeah, you can't restart Tamriel in the egg of time without cracking a few eggs yourself. You hear
Yeah.
me?
yeah yeah
Although that's the idea about extracting particular bits kind of interest me a little with in regards to Mehrunes more generally, because if he's assuming that he's transcalpic, which I think we all are,
Mhm.
then the manipulation of the razor, it's not a physical thing that was done to him. He died and was both died and was reborn with the razor because the razor changed what his nature was. That his precise associations when he was throwing down Lig was something else. So I'm curious as to what he would have been before he was destruction. I mean, he's still associated with revolution to a degree. Is that just a vestige, or was that something else? Because of the change that the razor and the Ge did to him.
I have a few ideas, but I'd like to hear if anyone else has to offer.
Well,
Saying
I
that-
mean,
Go ahead.
I know we kind of briefly talked about hope, right?
Mhm.
I think we mentioned it, but I mean, I got in an argument on Tesla, big surprise, months and months ago, and I had told someone that, well, yeah, I mean, part of Mehrunes Dagon's sphere is hope, and people were like, oh, what the fuck you're talking about? You're crazy. And I said, well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Mehrunes Day, if it's just destruction, then there's no resolution to the destruction. Why does he want to destroy so much? And it's, you know, it's an overthrowing, it's a revolution kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's pointless without a drive for something better. And that's the hope that Mehrunes Dagon kind of exhibits, I think.
Yeah, and rebellions are built on hope, right?
Yeah.
That's what Star Wars tells me.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you might destroy the empire and, you know, have something new spring up, and you hope it's gonna be better, right? But then it's not, and well, you destroy that too, and then okay, you know,
Okay.
round and round we go.
Yeah, and then you have hope in the second installment, and then nah.
Yeah, I mean, it creates more of a cycle rather than, you know, just destruction, which is just half of a cycle, because Mehrunes Dagon isn't really associated with creation a whole lot.
No.
Right. And I mean, usually in you know, other real world religions, any deity that's associated with destruction is also kind of associated with creation too.
That's where the time dragon fills in.
Yeah. So I mean, it's that's what I got.
No, that I can see where you're coming from. I'm kind of similar, but in a bit of a different way, in that I don't really see it as hope so much as progress. And again, I kind of blame this on my familiarity with like Hindu extended family and growing up with Hindu stories like as a kid.
It's a big family. Yeah.
If you can't like destruction is not always seen as wholly good or wholly bad. A forest needs to burn so that new life can emerge through it to add to the forest's diversity and strength and age. If you want to, you know, expand your business or your family, you need to like destroy the old shed so you can build your home extension. A rotten old series of houses in my neighborhood are going to be torn down and built with newer affordable housing so that they can bring more people into a smaller area but still have affordable housing. But those first buildings need to be destroyed in order for that to happen. So it's a thing that you can often see through the eyes of progress. So this old world needs to be destroyed so that a newer, better one can emerge. that's kind of how I view it. Less as hope, but more as a, like if like already right outside this window, no one's ever seen it, but there's this old fabric covered gazebo that we have, but it's getting really old and worn with age. There's holes in the top of it now. So, we need to destroy it to get a new one, because otherwise it's just going to fall apart and die and not be of use to anyone. So that to me is what Mehrunes Dagon's purpose is in terms of being a destroyer. Is he's trying to help, well, not, okay, air quotations, help bring forth progress and therefore change, so that something new and interesting can happen, which is Daedric as fuck to be an agent of change.
Yeah.
So in essence, you're saying that Mehrunes Dagon is both the anti-version of Sithis and Tyler Durden all at once.
Sure.
We're gonna have to add Fight Club to the bingo cards.
Yeah, let's go make some soap.
Yeah, but it's
Float soap.
I think I think that the Sithis comparison is probably the biggest one, because Sithis is entropy, and which is the kind of the antithesis of progress here, but it's still destruction and cycles. So,
but it's a chaotic destruction. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas Mehrunes Dagon, or just Dagon, if you like, can be it can be destruction with purpose. Usually is, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened at the end of Oblivion, right? He makes it so that there's this radical change that takes place.
No. Well, I mean, and
forces that situation.
See, I'm thinking about the word you used, Felix, of progress. And the thing with progress is it's not an inherent kind of idea, right? I mean, you get change. If something changes, that's
okay. That's fair.
That's an objective thing, but progress specifically has the added, for lack of a better word, kind of human perception.
Okay.
In is it progress if we destroy something that's good, right? Or you know what I'm getting, like, I mean, to make
if you replace it with something better, yes, but that's not always the case. And how do you judge that? Like, I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
So I mean, to make a real world analogy, I mean,
that's a great real world analogy right there.
Yeah.
To make a real world analogy, bark.
Think like a tree.
He wants to go do the thing.
And we go, yes, bork, yes, bork.
Yes. Hey, come on. Hey, you speak?
Yeah, but
that was
that was so cute.
I think I'm trying to pass the difference here between kind of Sithis and Mehrunes. Maybe if we say progress is maybe the wrong word, but if we say change without a reduction in complexity.
I'm not necessarily
transformation is the word you're looking for.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily trying to get to the idea that progress is an inaccurate thing, but rather that progress is a matter of interpretation. So the real world analogy I was trying to get to is, I mean, we'll look at the tearing down Confederate statues, erected after the Civil War, and go, okay, yeah, those shouldn't be glorified, those should be taken down. But the people who have kind of centered their cultural identity on that, quit your whining.
So centered their cultural identity is a really safe way of saying racists.
Yeah, they see the tearing down of these statues as, oh, it's my heritage, whatever. And so those people will see the tearing down of statues not as progress, but as regress, right? Or infringing upon something. So I think that because of that, and this kind of led me down to boiled Mehrunes Dagon down to being the prince of people suck. Because as soon as we tear down those statues and put something up again, how long before someone goes, maybe we shouldn't glorify these people, because oh, it turns out this person was a child molester, or you know they were involved in this or that, the other thing.
And so the revolution revolves.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's every time there's change, people come along and fuck it up.
Mhm.
And then Mehrunes Dagon is necessary again. And so it's not so much that he is the proponent of change. He's just kind of the herald of it.
Or an agent of it. I
Okay.
guess you'd say.
Yeah.
I have some lines of reasoning that would leads to a question. So, if he is directly opposed to Ald in get that thing.
I'll do Dagon.
Daga?
I always mess it up.
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot of
fights
letters in
Vaga?
that word. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So he's directly opposed to Ald there. Then he is in Lig and gets sort of reborn there. And Lig is the domain of Lorkhan. And if Lorkhan is the scarab, which would be the catalyst of change, would Mehrunes Dagon in essence be sort of like the
Agent.
actual present agent of Lorkhan within the Arbus?
If you go broad enough to define Lorkhan as change in general, then
If Lorkhan is the scarab, I mean the scarab itself is the catalyst for change.
I would go along, if we're going to give assigning Lorkhan an agent among the Daedra, I think Boethia is a better fit than Mehrunes.
I don't know. Well, like, I know where you're coming from. I would I would actually disagree. I think Boethia is more like Lorkhan's priest or
Shield-mated.
oh, there's a
Cheerleader.
word. There's a very good word, and
I
it's
don't-
not happening.
Because Lorkhan is on the same subgradient as the princes for the most part, right? I mean, kind of on that same level.
With
because you go
subgradient,
up,
I wouldn't. I don't think we're dealing with subgradiency here. I mean, I think what's happening is that I think we're kind of we're doing what I do personally a lot is we're starting to kind of lump together patamaic entities, and and what we're chasing is that common thread of patamaic change between all these agencies that kind of makes them blur together.
What I'm trying to get to is that since Lorkhan and the princes are kind of all parallel with each other for the most part, I mean, to say X is an agent of Lorkhan or you know Y is this or that of Lorkhan or Lorkhan is this kind of misses the point, because I mean the way I see it, all princes, all Atata, they all overlap in some way or another. And I tried making a diagram once showing which princes all overlap with each other.
Oh, like a giant Venn diagram?
Kind of, but with like 30 circles.
Yeah. And it's like 4-dimensional because they're all moving.
Yeah. And so I was trying to have some kind of, you know, nebulous structure that made sense. And the more I worked at it, the more frustrating it got, because, well, no, I've got Molag Bal down here, and he's associated with, you know, it's Azura up here because of reason, right? Well, I need to have those touch. And so finally I said, fuck it. And I just put them all together into one circle.
There you go.
And that's the Godhead.
Yeah,
What you need
Actually,
that is.
What you
Godhead.
actually need there is network producing software that would actually map it all for you properly.
Yeah,
so-
there's shortest point algorithms that need to be used here to
This does touch on something though. It's something I forget if it was MK or someone else who said it. Quit mixing up your gods and demons.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, I can never remember because I just remember someone saying that in a group and I don't remember where they pulled it from. But that's something to keep in mind with a thread that we've been sort of trying to hint at throughout this whole process with the Daedra is, look, some of them are very bad dudes, but they all serve a purpose, and some are actually, pretty good and relevant and important. So it's not like all Daedra are bad, all Aedra are good. In fact, if you watch our Aedra cats, it's like the Aedra are dicks. So are the Daedra, but it's like, it's not just good and bad.
Yeah.
And where I'm ultimately going with this about Mehrunes Dagon and like how he sort of fits together as like an agent of change, with how the Daedra are always supposed to be about change and everything, is each one represents a different part of change. So Mehrunes Dagon is the destruction part before things can start to be rebuilt again, and change happens that way. And then people start to whisper about what's being built and if that should actually be changed in some way, like amend the design, if you want to think of it that way. And there's all these little different aspects in terms of a physical destruction or material destruction, metaphysical destruction, mental destruction. There's all these different ways that can happen, right? And I say mental destruction because we just talked about, or no, we haven't talked about him yet, but he's going to be coming up. Molag Bal, the Prince of Rape and Domination, and how he likes to break and dominate people. That would no doubt cause a lot of mental trauma for people. So is that not, in a way, a form of change? It's changing the person and their mentality, their outlook. Like we can't, like Andrew said, it's so hard to try and bring all these different gods and agents of change together, because they each they're kind of like specialists. They pick on just a few key areas of what they do. So Mehrunes Dagon is big stompy. Molag Bal is big, like, I want to break you. And Boethia is, I want you to turn on each other, and I just want to see what happens after that. And Sheogorath says, I'm just going to unleash a cat in the dining room. Let's just see what happens. Change. Like, it's different in so many ways. It can't just be, like Andrew said, some kind of how does it all fit together? Because it's so complex.
Well, I mean, and that's true, except for Jyggalag.
Okay, but fuck Jyggalag.
Disagree.
I
disagree with that.
I'm a Jonathan on this one.
Yeah, no, you can absolutely spin Jyggalag as a chaotic or an agent of change, even though he says that he's a proponent of, like, static order. That's a really great conversation that we need to have for the Sheogorath cast, and not now.
Yeah, so we'll save it.
Fair enough.
Like, there's very little we have on Jyggalag, so I want to be able to save it all up for that one cast. Okay. Yeah.
Save all your bits from being destroyed by Alduin and bring them out at the appropriate time.
Yeah, Happy Chipster in chat is right. Isn't ordering the process of ordering change? Yeah, it is, but again, save it. We won't have much, so let's save it up.
Something that was brought up in chat that I want to make sure gets addressed is when Mehrunes Dagon tried to invade Mournhold,
right,
and was fought off by Sothosil and Almalexia. I mean, I don't know all the details about that, but I know if in Morrowind you go to Mournhold in Plaza Brindisidorum, there's a statue of Almalexia doing battle with Mehrunes Dagon, and I mean, what do we know about that conflict in particular? I mean, do we know much?
I mean, we know what happened. The story that it happens in, I mean, the tales that are being told about it are pretty vague. I mean, he tried to invade, he got fought off.
Yeah, but the question is, why did he invade Mournhold specifically, right? Because Mehrunes Dagon has lots of different names, right? Like there's Mehrunes Dagon. It's also the exalted and most puissant Lord, Garant or Gerant of Dagon, Mehrunes, the Black Daedra Lord, Mehrunes the Razor, Mehrunes the Thief Taker, Mehrunes Godbody, and Mehrunes the Red Arms that went up.
And Kinslayer.
Yeah, and he's also the Daedric Prince of Destruction, Change, Revolution, Energy, and Ambition.
Mm-hmm.
So he's also kind of stepping on like Molag Ball's toes a little bit there.
Yeah, but he was also we have the answer in chat from Butt T that in that specific instance he was summoned by a spurned Dunmer witch. If we are to believe that particular part of 2920, I don't know if we've got any corroboration from another source.
I will bet 5,000 septims that the spurned Dunmer witch was Azura in disguise.
Yeah.
No, it was so the story goes was that the Duke of Mournhold turned this particular Dunmer away when she had his kid and wasn't prepared to keep them in the house or legitimize them or whatever. Are we talking
about the 2920?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was reading about all that stuff, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so that particular instance of the destruction of Mournhold wasn't particularly Dagon's own action entirely, although it was one of the ways round I don't know whether it was the Cold Harbor Compact or whether it was something else, some other prohibition against Daedra being around.
I don't remember.
But so it would have been a way for Dagon to exercise some sort of influence on Tamriel, or more than he would have otherwise. So I very much doubt he would have objected, even if it wasn't his own instigation. Or whether he even has his own instigation is actually something I wanted to talk about, because I remember Michael brought up in one of the Khajiit casts maybe that Dagon is portrayed as a kitten, which can't, because kittens can't control their claws quite so well. And you've also got so a lot of Dagon's destruction is potentially unintentional in some ways. And when you've got the associations for Dagon in the tribunal faith as well, he's associated with natural disasters, which are unintentional, which are no one's fault. So there's an aspect to Dagon that is not, it's still destruction, but it's not malevolent in that sense. So the idea that there is some sort of, Dagon necessarily has some sort of plan, it's just kind of, I just do.
Yeah.
On the subject of it's a kitten, I was just imagining a kitten getting into all sorts of trouble and like shredding the toilet paper and stuff, like, oh, who's a good little Dagon, like rubbing the kitten's tummy, who's a good little Dagon.
Except this is a cosmically huge kitten that every once in a while rends whole cities in half. So
like an even bigger Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the Khajiit point about the classification, the depiction of Dagon as like a big out of control kitten is that it actually kind of speaks to the Daedric kind of structure. The idea of a Daedra in general is that they have a spirit to them, a type of a keep using the word idiom that is inseparable from them, and that they're always going to be that way because they can't do anything else. And just like a kitten can't control its own claws, Dagon can't stop destroying things. It's just not possible. And you can think of it as adorable, like a kitten who can't control its claws until you're Mom Alexia and you come home one day and your whole city has been burnt to a crisp. And, who wants that? So
it's like a I don't know. You could say it's sort of like a slang term that they would use in like older TV shows where bang boom straight to the moon. In this case, it's God damn it, Dagon, because it's just destroying everything. It's like, well,
I go destroying again.
I kind of imagine him as Urkel. Did I do that?
Oh no.
Oh, God.
No. He just pushed Mournhold off the table. That's all that actually happened.
Yep.
Mehrunes Dagon is that guy in a fedora who weighs like 500 pounds who shows up to a Magic the Gathering convention and flips the table when he doesn't win.
Muthsera.
Mothsera, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think we've had, I mean, you know, we've talked at length about how the Razor itself works, and the idea of the Razor being sort of like a microscopic, mythic-wise, a microscopic direction of all of Dagon's power. And we see that in action in a number of ways, most famously in Mankar Cameron's rewriting of his past. So, and we discussed that at great length in the Cameron casts. I think we've done 2. I feel like we've done 2. So I don't think we necessarily need to go into that. But I mean, beyond that, guys, have we missed anything?
We have missed a few things, which is that
Yes.
So okay, there's first of all, we haven't really. Well, I guess we have talked about the Mysterium Xarxes at length in other episodes, but it should be mentioned. And also, we should talk about the Spear of Bitter Mercy, and just for shits and giggles, the Daedric Crescent, because those are his Daedric artifacts.
Yes.
Outside of Mehrunes Razor.
The Spear of Bitter Mercy isn't his.
I thought it was.
No,
It's
that's Hircine, and it was stolen by Sheogorath at one point.
It gets claimed by both at some points, I think, because it
Yeah, hang on a second.
or is it just that the Spear of Bitter Mercy is in Battle Spire, and Dagon is the one you're facing off there. Because there was a question earlier from Benefactor about links between Dagon and Hircine. Is there? Because I think there possibly should be somewhere if we're going to start talking about natural disasters and hunting and state of nature and stuff, and particularly Hobbesian, if we're going to get to the whole state of nature as being a war of all against all, that's very, very Dagon-y. Sorry, I'm going to let Felix talk now before he explodes.
Yes, thank you. We talked about this in the Reachman cast, that the Reachmen, while they worship Hircine, there's several aspects to him, which is basically actually a Daedric pantheon. One of those is Mehrunes Razor, and actually, sorry, not Mehrunes Razor, Mehrunes Dagon. And if you actually look, I'm looking at it right now, the Mehrunes Dagon article on UESP, the Spear of Bitter Mercy. It says little to nothing is known about the spear, but it's believed to be of Daedric origin. Multiple spears exist and were said to be forged by the Daedric Prince Mehrunes Dagon, but at least one has become the signature weapon of his ally Hircine, who has become the Daedric Prince that is most closely associated with the artifact. Dagon forged the spears for use in the ritual of the Innocent Quarry, the great hunt that takes place within the Chimera of Desolation. As the spears of Bitter Mercy are weapons of great power, those intended for use in a great hunt are forbidden from being removed from the site of the hunt, and they cannot be wielded by any mortals or immortals except those sanctified to the hunt and bound to its rules. According to Reachman myth, Hircine is said to wield his Spear of Bitter Mercy when he takes on the aspect of Al-Rabeg the Hunter. This spear grants its wielder a magical shield, as well as the ability to summon storm Atronax. In appearance, it is a metallic spear, usually with 2 or 4 protruding prongs surrounding the central spearhead. It is sometimes emblazoned with Daedric Hechem sigils, representing the letter H. Much like other artifacts associated with Hircine, it rejects a user who is unworthy of wielding it. So they are created like by Mehrunes Dagon, and there's several of them, one of whom he gave to Hircine, and it became one of his most important aspects, which would also explain why, to the Reachman, Mehrunes Dagon, in a way, like if you read between the lines, he's one of the aspects of Hircine. So, yay, more dope lore. That's why I was like, wait, I can bring back something that I talked about in the previous. Yeah.
So I'm just thinking then, if that's the case, And just thinking back to a line that Morian Zenas said on Oblivion when he was questioning whether Hircine was a prince or not. Does that mean that Hircine only became a proper prince through some sort of patronage from Dagon?
It's entirely possible that that's the case, or maybe it involved Mehrunes Razor to cut Hircine's mimic. Like,
Maybe. And just another and just on what and thinking about artifacts as well. Dagon seems to make weapons out of himself a fair bit, because we were arguing about whether the Razor and Dagon are distinct things. It feels is there any indication that the spears were made from Dagon rather than being made by?
I think they would have mentioned the description of the Moon Reaver is that it's made of Dagon's.
Yes, that's absolutely where I was
substance.
Going.
Yeah.
So.
Oh God, does this mean in the context of spears and Mehrunes made his own spears? Like, Chris is just like.
No. Sometimes a spear is just a spear, and
Okay, good.
Yeah, Mehrunes Dagon built these spears for multiple Daedric princes. I mean, that's why Sheogorath ends up with one in Morrowind. So it's I mean, Sauron the Deceiver forged in secret a master ring, etc., etc. It's like it's a little bit like Dagon built the spears for his friends and or his buddies or whatever, and that's just sort of.
So who would be his Celebrimbor? I wonder.
Oh no.
Would that be Xarxes?
Sure. I know Dick all about the deep Lord of the Rings lore, man. I don't know.
Because didn't because the Mysterium Xarxes, which is associated with Mehrunes Dagon, that was it written by? I think it was written by Xarxes.
I thought it was written by Dagon, if memory serves. I can't remember.
Yeah, one or the other.
The Mysterium Xarxes or the Augmentvinium?
The Mysterium Xarxes. The actual book itself, because there's the commentaries on the Mysterium Xarxes, which are Manchar Camerons.
That are Manchar Camerons, yeah. But the Mysterium Xarxes is supposed to be the book of Xarxes. It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's supposed to be written by Xarxes himself. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think I think it was given to Mehrunes Dagon. Oh no, it's according to UESP, it's written by Mehrunes Dagon, who scribed it in the deserts of rust and wounds. Sounds like Deadlands to me.
That's taken from the commentaries, but yeah.
It was an artifact of great and evil power. The Xarxes were said to have vile, corrupting influence. Reading from the book required magical protection from its powers. Even merely handling it was said to be dangerous. It was given by Dagon to Manchar Cameron. Looking for.
Really? Appears in the Creation Club wielded by a goblin?
That's the spirit bit of mercy, by the way.
Yeah. Wielded by a goblin.
Yeah, I don't actually see.
Goblins can be cool too.
I don't actually see Xarxes.
Yeah, only when enslaved by Golden Myr.
Oof.
Those curved swords, though. What about them curved swords, though?
Yeah, to paraphrase a very, very racist comment about the British Empire. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm curious as to the relationship between Mehrunes Dagon and Xarxes, because Xarxes is a deity, but the deity Xarxes is not mentioned at all in this UESP article.
Well, he was Xarxes was corrupted by Hermaeus Mora.
Yeah.
When would Dagon have been involved enough with that, or was I don't know whether Mora decided, oh, let's franchise this guy out and see what favors I can get.
Because Xarxes is described to Ariel also.
Yes.
And so was, Hermes Mora claimed that the knowledge he gave to Xarxes was recorded in the Agma Infinium. Huh. I remember there being something. Oh, okay.
Have we done a cast on Xarxes yet?
No.
Nope.
The Mysterium Xarxes, written by Mehrunes Dagon, shares a similar name to the scribe,
Yeah.
but it is unknown if there is any relation. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was looking. I mean, there's got to be some link there. I mean, I'm a firm believer in that there are no coincidences in test lore.
It's only Resdane.
What about Resdane?
That's
It's
only
only-
in Resdane.
Oh,
Yeah.
Make
there are-
Daniel great again.
All
Yeah,
right.
there is no coincidence. Yeah. But if that's the case, then is Xarxes a word of some species in Elnifex? Just thinking, just in the same way that Hermamora is woodland
Maybe it
and
just
the
means
like.
book.
it just means book.
Yeah,
It
maybe.
wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if the divine scribe either gives his name to the act of scribing itself.
That's possible.
Mm.
There is one book called Xarxes.
Mhm.
A
It's,
book called Book.
Yeah, it's super short. It's just a conversation between Xarxes and Agma.
I wrote a book. It's called Book. So we're not finding much on Xarxes.
Nothing that's related to Mehrunes Dagon. So
Or
mistaken.
Mehrunes, if you want to get Greek about it. Mehrunes.
Okay, nerd.
Okay.
Yeah, my favorite's testicles.
I prefer Popsicles myself.
Popsicles, yes.
Spectacles.
It's best not to confuse those two.
But no, it depends
well,
what you want to lick. Anyway,
the irony of saying "okay, nerd" in this group, no kidding, right?
Did we?
Yeah.
I know we mentioned it, but did we go into detail at all about the Daedric Crescent?
not yet. No,
No.
which is what I was going to say.
No.
Like, so anyway, we
Yeah.
should talk about my favorite Daedric artifact because I always went out of my way to find that in Morrowind, get it, and wield it.
That's a
I just
task,
like it.
man. The Daedric Crescent's not easy to get. So
Yeah.
It's called cheats.
No.
oh,
It's called console commands.
Don't be a wiener. No, you just gotta get. It's in the little chest next to Deveth Fear. It's got 100 lock level. You just make an open lock spell at 100. I mean, you just need alteration skills.
and if you're stealing from
That-
Diveth Fear, you got
Oh,
that
he doesn't
kind of
give a
gun.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit.
Oh, he doesn't. Oh, okay.
No. He challenges you to steal his stuff, and all the lock levels are at 100. So
but he challenges you to steal all of his stuff in the Corpusarium, though, doesn't he?
yeah, and some of
Yeah.
the chests end up. I mean, some of the related chests because it's kind of like a scavenger
Oh,
hunt sort of thing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
like that's weird to me because maybe it's the Mandela effect or something, but I have a pretty distinct memory of playing Morrowind, and I got the Daedric Crescent fighting like a Dremora or something in a Daedric temple.
Yeah.
Yes, no,
Really?
that's not
It's
a
a drop?
Mandela effect.
Okay. Good.
Yes. So here's the thing. Is once you take there's an amulet that's in that little chest next to Deveth Fear. You put it on, you're immediately transported
Okay,
to-
right.
to an enclosed Daedric shrine.
There it is.
There's no way in, there's no way out. And there's Lord Dragus Volaris who you have to fight. And he has the Daedric Crescent, which I think paralyzes and does like fire damage or something. I mean, it's a pretty gnarly weapon.
Disintegrate armor 5 to 30 on touch.
Oh yeah,
Paralyzed
yeah,
for
yeah.
10 seconds on touch. Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah, it's rough.
Do you see why I love that blade?
It has enough charges to be fired 10
There-
times. That's it.
Yeah. So once you kill him, you're transported out, and you have the crescent in your inventory. But there's a way to get 2 Daedric Crescents if you
If you're
use them.
fast.
If you use a mark spell in that Daedric shrine, after you're transported out, you recall. You loot his body to get another Daedric Crescent, and then you can use divine intervention or something to get out.
And then you
Oh my god,
put
I'm
in a
just
mod to
imagining
dual
someone
wield it
coming
for
out of there with
maximum
like 2
weeb.
Daedric Crescents.
Yeah.
Fear's like, whoa, what happened?
I'm breaking the
Yeah,
game.
NY.
Yeah. So aside from real cool looking,
Yeah, because there used to be a lot of them.
They're also referenced in Battle Spire, which we should
Yes.
talk a bit
Yeah,
about.
well, even the cover art of Battle Spire has a dark seducer. A dark seducer when they were more like succubi, and it holding a Daedric Crescent, and it's got its wings, and it's kind of a silhouette sort of deal. That's there used to be a lot more, and I think the Imperial University had most of them destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I imagine they were. I don't remember anything specifically that corroborates this, but I imagine the crescents were probably used by, some of Mehrunes Dagon's, like he had like an elite force or something.
Yeah.
that he had
Yeah,
sent
yeah.
in,
They
and
were
all
used
had
to storm. They were used to storm the battle spire, which Benefactor is saying in chat, and now he says it. I remember the thing. Yay, Mandela effect.
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we like the interesting thing about Battle Spire and the game that's sort of like a standalone about Mehrunes Dagon and everything. I haven't played it. That was definitely before my time.
I tried to play it, but I kept dying.
Yeah.
Well, that's classic old Elder Scrolls for you, right? They kicked your ass. It was the
Well,
Dark
but
Souls of its day. But
it's almost more like a roguelike because it sends you back to the beginning every time you die.
Oh god.
Oh.
But it's interesting to explore the fact that the Battle Spire is this. It's basically kind of like a spaceship or a space station, and it's got what's basically access to the Dreamsleeve, which is used like the internet. And I just found that to be very fascinating when I was first delving into the lore beyond areas that I'm particularly fond of. But I don't know, or I haven't found out where this Battle Spire came from and why it had to involve Mehrunes Dagon. So for that, we turn to our veteran, Chris, and hopefully he can tell us.
Man, I ain't played that fucking game. I don't know what you're talking about.
I can give you that one.
Cool.
It was that it was linked back to various plots that Yagothan had. That Tharn was allied with Dagon, and part of Tharn's deal was that he would give Dagon the Battle Spire, and then that's kind of would be used as a staging ground to invade Nirn. And when Tharn screwed up, Dagon just invaded anyway.
Yeah.
So
I do remember that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they came from Remenite era.
Probably.
I think that's. I know they've been mentioned in Remen era, but I didn't know if they were Alessia or Remen.
I don't think we've got confirmation either way, but or at least if we have, I haven't seen it. But Raman did enough stuff that with Aetherius that I would not be surprised that it was the Raman era stuff that produced the Battle Spires. Also, yeah, I just had a theory that it was all happening in Raman III's time because he was the one that was kind of the golden age. But I seem to remember that the second edition pocket guide claims that it was Ramon Cyrodiil, so it would have been Ramon the First.
Okay.
Aside.
Quick question here, not just for those of us here in this room, but also for everyone in chat right now. How do you pronounce it? Is it Riemann, Ramon, Remen? Like, how do people pronounce it?
It's actually pronounced. It's pronounced Ramon. Ramon.
I can tell you that when we were talking about doing how we were going to manage voice acting for the Tatterdemalion mod, all the natives of Tatterdemalion were going to be Australian.
Ramen.
So it'd be Ryman.
Ryman. G'day.
Oh,
Yeah.
Reman, like He-Man, because he's so powerful.
I'm pretty sure it's actually Reman. Yeah.
Reman and the CC of power.
Reman.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Remus. Yeah.
That makes so much sense. It just kind of has to be.
If you say Remen, sounds like you're saying Rimmon. Like,
no, it's ramen.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's it.
It's all soup.
We've been touched by his noodly appendage.
Mm-hmm.
Not Freeman's, please. No.
Noodly appendage down there, if you mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
where all the clam chowder comes from.
Yeah, he can do that without hands, so he's fine.
Freeman, no.
What do you do, dude? And we've devolved into degeneracy as per usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, on schedule.
Yeah.
It has been an hour and a bit.
Tentacles, yeah. Tentacles. So I'm gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, before it
I think
gets
we've
any
done
worse.
enough damage.
Wait
Oh,
till
that's a great pun. That is a great pun.
Yeah.
wait till I tell you what I think of sweet rolls.
No.
No.
Pass. So, hey guys, what are we doing in 2 weeks? We're doing
Well,
Mephala. Ooh.
Mephala.
Oh.
That'll be fun. So all you fans of Spooters out there, we've got a cast for you.
I had a thought climbing out the shower this morning. I was like, what genre of music would each prince listen to? I think for Mephala it'd be like porncore.
Okay, hang on. Okay.
What's
Mephala would probably, just based on everything we know about her, probably listens to like classic boss bitch girl country of like, I killed a man and buried his corpse. Like, let's be real here.
It's just Jolene by
just
Dolly
on,
Parton.
but all
Exactly.
nothing but remixes of Jolene. No, Mephala does not listen to Jolene.
Mephala listens to Blondie. Like, come on, let's
Yeah.
be real here.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, real quick, I promise this is my last terrible thing. Andrew had talked earlier about Mehrunes Dagon kind of being like, you know, the prince of people suck. So I'm just imagining now is Mehrunes Dagon is like a goth dad to Nocturnal as the goth mom. That's basically how I'm like visualizing it. Andrew's getting a kick out of it. I appreciate that.
Gomez and Morticia Adams, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
And that was the last terrible thing, I promise.
All right, folks. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Catch you
Talk
in
about
2 weeks.
Spoders.
Yes.
Bye bye.
It'll be fun.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.